Kaite oder uniprte. Hello and welcome to the last part of the grammar series, namely the summary. Just so you don't come here with wrong expectations, this video will not teach you the entirety of Na'vi grammar. Of course not, it's far too short for that. But it's rather meant as a repetition or a summary of all the things we learned about in the past 20 parts. So if you, for example, just want to refresh your mind on all the different things you learned, this video might be for you. Or if you haven't watched any of the videos and just want to find out which grammar topics you maybe haven't heard of yet and haven't studied yet, then this video might also help you, because we very quickly go over every single topic. Of course, not every single topic that exists, but let's say every major topic that I made a video about. Throughout the video, you will see these small signs, here for one. They show you in which grammar video you can find the topic we are currently talking about. So for example, the number 1 would mean that you can find out more about a topic in video 1 of the grammar series. Video 1, of course, was the How to Learn Na'vi video, and we will not go into that one. But let's start. First, simple sentences and negation. We learned a few things, namely that there's flexible word order, not free word order, meaning that words can often go in many different orders. There are no articles, so the cat or a cat would be the same in Na'vi. There is no verb conjugation according to person, so he runs as opposed to I run doesn't make a difference in Na'vi, because it would always be dual, to run. Let's look at some examples. Oe tul, tul oe, I run. Nantang tul, tul nantang, a nantang or the nantang runs. Negation is made with the word ke in front of the verb. So example, oe ke tul, I don't run. Po uvan kesi, he doesn't play. Ke lu win nga, you are not fast. Kau kro kit so le a oe toro kit, here you see one important thing, namely double negation. In English, we don't negate the verb again, so we don't say I never don't see a torok. You say I never saw a torok. In Na'vi, we need to still negate the verb with ke, even though we have the negative word kaukr in there. You can learn about simple sentences like oe tu, tul oe in video 2, and about negation in part 6. Case endings, yes, I put them all in an overview on one slide. Here you can see all the different case endings and how they behave on different words, so after a vowel, after a pseudo-vowel or a consonant, and after diphthongs. Pause the video and make a screenshot if you find this helpful. Let's actually look at how to use them. No case ending is for the subject of an intransitive sentence. You can learn about intransitive sentences and transitive sentences and what that actually means also in video 2. But also after apposition, so I would say hunga and not hungal or hungati or hungaru or something like that. So after appositions, always no case ending. L is for the subject of a transitive sentence, so who or what is verbing, who or what is doing something, but only in transitive sentences, so if there's also a direct object. Which brings us to the next one, direct object, who or what is being verbed. So for example, who is being seen. If I want to say, I see you, who's being seen, you are being seen, so you would get the T ending. Ru is the indirect object, to whom or what. So for example, in sentences like, I give you the book, then I could ask, to whom do I give the book? To you. So you would be the indirect object in that sentence. Yeah is for possession, so whose or to whom belongs something. For example, my cat, the cat's toy, or similar things. And re is something we don't have in English, so that's an interesting one. Topical, regarding what. You can learn about L and T and also actually about no case ending, so subject of an intransitive verb, in video 2. You can learn about the indirect object in part 3 of the grammar series, about possession in part 5, and about the topical in part 15. Let's next look at adjectives. We use a to connect them directly to a noun. Rina nantang or nantang arin, so you see the adjective can be before or after, but needs to be connected with the a. Hona nantang, here you see that if there is already an a, we don't put another one, or nantang ahona. Le hurrapa nantang or nantang le hurrap. Remember that if an adjective starts with le, then we usually don't put an R, but we can, so we can say Nantang alehurab, it's just a bit weird. We don't use an R if we connect the adjective with a verb. Nantang luwin, the Nantang is fast, as opposed to wina Nantang, the fast Nantang. Ne'ul and frato are used to say that someone is faster or the fastest. So Nantang luwin ne'ul or win frato, the Nantang is faster or the fastest. We can use do to compare things to each other. Nantang, do pali luwin. The Nantang, in comparison to the pali, is fast. So the Nantang is faster than the Yerik. Remember that we don't use ne'ul here, even though we have faster in the English sentence. You can learn about this in part 4. Simple subclause with R. We already talked about the R to connect adjectives to nouns. We can use them to make subclauses that describe a noun. Let's look at some examples. Cea wel Nantangit a taron meyerigil. I see a Nantang that hunts 2 Yeriks. We can also change the order around. Cea wel taron meyerigit a Nantangit. So I see the Nantang that hunts 2 Yeriks. So the R is always in between the noun it describes and the subclause that describes the noun. Like with the adjectives, it can come before or after the noun. Case endings other than LMT as well as adpositions need to be brought into the subclause with a dummy noun referring back to the noun. So, for example, Cea wel taronjut a poro lutsko. I see the hunter to whom there is a bow. So, in better English, I see the hunter who has a bow. Why do we need the poro? If we would say taronju a lutsko, so without the poro, it would literally mean the hunter who is a bow. That doesn't make sense. So we need to bring the ru ending into the subclause and refer back to the hunter to show that we mean that to him there is a bow and not that he is the bow. Another example. Sunu werutsko a tsafa ngatularon. I like the bow with which you hunted. We do the same in English, with which. Tsafa. You can learn more about this in part 8. Let's talk next about adverbs and adpositions. Adverbs can be anywhere in the clause they belong to, but adverbs of quantity or degree, so like much or little, often follow the thing they modify. Oe dul newin, newin oe dul, oe newin dul, I run fast. Anything is possible here. Oe dul newin net an, I run very fast. So here the very, which is an adverb of degree, how much do I run fast basically, follows the newin. This is no set rule. I can also say net an oe dul newin. That's possible. It's just not very common. The most common thing to do is to put the net an behind the newin because it refers to the newin. I run very fast. Adpositions can be before a noun with a space or after without a space. Here are some examples. Oe uvansi hu nantang or oe uvansi nantang hu. I play with the Nantang. If we combine this with an adjective, in this case hona, cute, we have 4 different possibilities. Hu hona Nantang, so here the adjective, the hona, comes in between the adposition and the noun. Hu Nantang a hona, here they're just on 2 different sides. Hona Nantang hu, again on 2 different sides. Or Nantang hu a hona, so if both follow the noun, then we have first the adposition, then the adjective. Some adpositions cause addition to whatever follows when placed before the noun. Oe wem we samsiu. I fight against the warrior. Notice how tsamsiu became samsiu due to the nition. Oe wem we saula tsamsiu. Here, Saul, tall, became Saul because of the nition, even though it's not a noun. But if we would have the we behind the tsamsiu, so tsamsiu we, then the following word would not be lenited. It only happens if the adposition is in front of the noun. You can learn about adverbs in part 10 and about adpositions in part 9. Let's look at some useful pre and suffixes. I mean, that's more just a list you can learn, not much grammar stuff involved here. Me, e and I are what we use to make the plurals. So me would be the dual, 2 of something, e the trial, 3 of something, I would be the actual plural, so 4 or more of something. They all cause the nition, which you can see because of the plus. Fe and za are very important, this and that, you see them everywhere in Natvi. Fra would mean every. All of these can be combined with the I, and fe and za also with the dual and the trio. Fne is a type of. Zug is verbable. Ke-zug is unverbable. So for example, zug yom would be edible, from yom to eat. Ke-zug yom would be unedible, again from yom to eat. These words then become adjectives. Ne can make adverbs from any adjective or pronoun. So ween, fast, becomes ne ween in a fast way. So fastly, I don't know if the English word exists. Or neoe, like me or like I would do. Sna and munsna again go on nouns. Sna is a group of something, of living things, so of animals or plants, not of humans though. Munsna is a pair of something, for example, munsna hauen ven, a pair of shoes. Tsiep is a diminutive, so something cute little. Fgeik is the condition of, so nantang fgeik would be the condition of the nantang. O means some, so for example, tute, person, can become tuteo, someone or some person. You and zwo go on to verbs. You makes the person who does the verb, so yom-yu would be a person who eats. Zwo is the ability to do something, so yom-zwo would be the ability to eat. Am and I go on to time nouns, so for example, sisit is a year, sisitam would be the last year, sisitai would be the next year. Te and se make nouns from basically anything. They are not productive. All that now follow are not productive anymore. That means we cannot really use them. We can only find them in dictionary at words that already exist. The meaning is not 100% predictable, but if we have a te and a se noun from the same base word, for example, tetaron and setaron, then usually the te word is a more general concept, in this case hunting, while se then is something specific, so setaron would be a specific hunt. Vi is a smaller part of something, numtseng would be school, numtsengvi is a classroom, so part of a school. Nai is something lower in hierarchy. For example, we have Eiktan, a leader, and Eiktan Nai, a deputy, someone who maybe one day becomes a leader. We also have Karyu, teacher, becoming Karyu Nai, a teacher apprentice, so someone who will become a teacher one day. Then we have Tu, that makes persons from different things. For example, Naum is great noble, and then we have Naumtu, a noble person. An and E we often see to make something male or female. Probably know it from Po, he or she, becoming Poan, he, and Poe, she. Lastly, Le and Nga make adjectives. Le is just very general, it can make any type of adjective, and it's not really predictable what exactly it will mean. Nga usually means containing something. For example, pai nga is moist, so containing water. You can learn about all the different pre and suffixes in part 7. Let's look at infixes next, a very big topic. There are 3 infix categories, position 1, position 2, and pre-first, or also called position 0. So for each infix you have to learn in which position it belongs. Position 2 is before the last vowel, position 1 before the second last vowel. In compounds, the infixes are in the verb part. For example, la rosi, to do clean, everything would go into the C, because the C is the verb part here, while laro, clean, is an adjective. Here are some examples. The dots show the infix positions. I only showed infix position 1 and 2 here. Here you can also see that, for example, ral peng, everything goes into the peng, because ral peng comes from the 2 words ral, meaning, and peng, to tell. Meaning obviously is a noun, peng is the verb part here. If we have only 1 syllable, then everything goes into the 1 syllable. You see that with il, everything actually goes in front of the verb, because this starts with a vowel. And in plte, you see that we also have to take pseudo-vowels into consideration, so infixes can go in front of the l. Let's look at the infix that exists. We have am and im for general or recent past. We have I and I for general and near future, and asje and isje for the determined versions of the future. We have ol and for finished and ongoing action, us and aun, which create the active or the passive adjective. So to hunt would become hunting, the active adjective, and hunted, the passive adjective. We have if, the subjunctive, which is used for many different things in NatWe, for wishes, commands, with certain conjunctions or other words, and also with modal verbs. We have a and eng for the positive and negative mood. We have ui, ceremonial, and ats, inferential. We have eg, the causative, so to cause someone to do something. And we have ab, the reflexive, so to do something to yourself. So for example, to see oneself. And abeg, causing oneself to do something. This was really a lot. Maybe you remember that infixes actually was 4 different videos in the series. You can learn in much more details in these parts. Introduction to infixes plus some first infixes are covered in part 11. The rest of position 1 infixes, so ol, us, aun, and if, as well as combination infixes, which I haven't covered on the slide, you can learn about in part 12. Position 2 infixes, so a, eng, ui, and ats, are covered in part 13. And lastly, pre-first position infixes, eg, ab, and abeg, are covered in part 14. Here you see a beautiful picture by Ayana O'Neill that shows all the infixes. It also shows the compound infixes, so the ones that are built together from the tense, subjunctive, and perfect, imperfect one. So for example, the if plus the ol would become ilf, because sometimes you want to have both, the if and the ol in the verb. Let's next look at F words. What they do is basically putting an entire clause into a noun slot. You remember probably fua becomes froid. An example would be sunu vero froid slede, I like to swim. The thing that I like has no case ending, so I need fua, no case ending, therefore froid. We need froid here because slede is a verb, so we cannot put it into the noun slot, the thing that we like. So, sunu vero froid slede. Fua becomes futa. An example would be well fbil futa ngakanulu, I think that you're smart. Fbil is a transitive verb, so the thing, what we think, gets the T ending. Therefore, we need a futa here because we want to have nga luganu, this entire clause, as the thing that we think. Feola becomes fula. Fula ngal fecengti, wedi ekefunitra. That you're here makes me happy. The thing that causes me to be happy, ekefu, gets the L ending because it's the subject. What causes me to be happy? That you are here. Therefore, to put this entire clause into the subject position, we need a fula. Feura becomes fura. Zaupare gangaisi furaposa yao. That message confirms that he'll come. Same reasoning as always, we need the R ending here, because gangaisi is intransitive, so the thing that is confirmed gets the R ending, so fura. And lastly, we also have one for the topical. Feuria becomes furia. Furia ngar srunke suli oitsap alutesi. I apologize for not helping you. The thing we apologize for gets a topical, so regarding the thing which is, I didn't help you, I apologize. There are also za words, which are basically the same, but with za'u instead of fe'u. Zawa, zala, zata, zara, zaria. They can mostly be used interchangeably with the F words, but they are far less common. They can, however, be used to establish a contrast, like I want this, but you want that. There are also some other verbs that work very similarly to F words, namely phailuta from phaileut-a, these words which is very often used with pilte and other verbs of speech, so to speak these words. Fmaunta from fmaunit-a, the news which is used with staum, to hear, so I hear the news which is, or with peng, to tell, so I tell the news which is. Then zonta, which comes from zonit-a, so the obligation which is. This one is used with im, to command someone to do something, so you would command zonta, not futa. And lastly, tenga and friends, tenga, tengta, and tengla, which are used for indirect questions. You can learn about all of this in part 16. Then there were 2 more videos about conjunctions. I will really not go into details at all with this one because it's mostly just vocab. So I will give you an overview of the words here. And if you want to see example sentences with them, you can either go to the NT Dictionary or go to the videos because there I show an example sentence for every single conjunction. First, let's talk about conditions, which are built with to, zakr. The zakr can be omitted and usually uses an if infix after to, so in the to clause, but there are also cases where you don't need it. If you are talking about something that cannot be true, so about contrafactuals, like for example, if I was an ikran, then I would fly, then you would use sun zel instead. The zel cannot be omitted. Here you need the if infix in both clauses, so after sun and after zel. We have a lot of conjunctions for time relations. Gra, when, maukra or maufwa or akrmau, after, srefwa, before, vaikr, until, tenkr, while, this one is used with the r infix usually, takra or akrta, since, and tik, and immediately. There's also a possibility to just use 2 verbs as sequential verb pair. Well, jerikit spang em, I kill and then cook the jerik. So here we don't use any conjunction, we just put the 2 verbs directly after each other. We could also use tik here, so well, jerikit spang tik em, then it would mean I kill and then immediately cook the jerik. While without the tik, it could mean and immediately, but it could also mean yeah, and then tomorrow I cook it. There are some other conjunctions that, like to and sun zel, use the if infix in the next clause, namely fte, in order that or to, fteke, in order that not or so that not, tsne, that, which is basically used like futa with some specific verbs, and it doesn't use the if infix always, only with some verbs. Swelut o, should, mungrt o, except if, and ketran, whatever or no matter. For describing consequences or reasoning, we also have a bunch of different conjunctions. Kuma or akum, which describe a result, so something is a result of something else. Ha, so in that case, talun or taluna or alunta, and also taweka, because, and tafral, which actually is not a conjunction but an adverb, therefore. And there are a lot of other conjunctions, se, ulte, both meaning and, fu, but, ki, dup, ul, nen, so there are a bunch of others. You can see the full list in the video. The first few, so conditions and time relations, are covered in video 17, and all the other conjunctions I talk about in part 18. Let's quickly look at questions. We can build yes-no questions with srake or srak. So srake goes at the beginning of a sentence, srake at the end. They are completely interchangeable, just what you like the most. Srake sununga romauti or sununga romauti srak, do you like fruit? Or with t'e fuke, t'e sununga romauti fuke, do you like fruit or not? And they basically all mean the same. We also have choice questions, so this or that. And tag questions, so something like, the food is nice, right? In that way. Choice questions are built with 2 times fu, namely 1 fu in front of every choice. Nga nul neo, fus riveo, fu rivol. Do you prefer to dance or to sing? Tag question would be something like, Ngaro sunu fuaro kefiak. You like singing, right? And you note that kefiak is short for ke fefia srak. And we can also use the intermediate form kefia srak. Open questions with pe, you see it causes the initial if it's put before a noun, but it can also be put behind a noun. And it translates to something like which or what noun. So for example, pe ioang or ioang pe would mean which animal. Pe saronyo or taronyo pe would mean which hunter. And actually all the common question words are also built with pe. So grpe or pr means literally which time, when. Pesu or tupe, which person, who. Peseng or tsengpe, which place, where. Pefia or fiape, coming from pefiao or fiaope, which way, so how. And pelun or lumpe, from lun, the reason, would be which reason, why. There are some more but let's not go into so much detail. You can learn about questions in part 19 of the grammar course. And lastly, let's look at numbers. NATVI use the octave system because they have only 8 fingers, not 10 like we have, so they use the base 8. But if you're not into all this mathematics nonsense, then you can just learn basically the first 20 numbers by heart, and more you don't really need. Here are the first 20 numbers: au, mune, p'ei, tsing, mr, bukap, gine, vol, volau, vomun, vopei, vosing, vomr, vofu, vohin, mevol, mevolau, mevomun, mevopei, mevosing. There are also higher numbers like sam, vosam and sasam. It looks weird that I now here have specific words for 64 and 512 and 4096. That is because, like I said, the NATVI use the octal system. And in octal, 64 actually is 100, 512 is 1000, and 4096 is actually 10,000. So for the NATVI, these are basically the round numbers. Also, some words that can be very helpful are I, many, whole, a few of something, and keo, which means 0. You can learn about this in part 20. In case you want to actually go into the mathematics stuff and you want to form your own number words, the first step would be to convert the number from decimal to octal. I will not repeat in detail how that works here. For that, you really should go to the other video or to any other video on YouTube or any other resource on the internet that explains how to convert decimal numbers to octal, because that's something that's not only used for NATVI but for other things. Once you have your number converted into octal, you can translate the octal number into a NATVI word. We use the base numbers for that: au, mune, p'ei, tsing, mr, bukap, gine, vol. But we actually also have prefix forms and suffix forms. And you see that they look very similar. So for example, tsing has tse as a prefix form and sing as a suffix form. What do we now actually do? Let's look at some examples. 25 decimal becomes 31 in octal, which means, if you are familiar with the octal system, 3 times 8 plus 1. What are we doing now? We know that vol is 8, so we want 3 times 8. We use therefore the prefix for 3, so p'e, plus vol, so p'e vol. And then we use the suffix form for the last number, so p'e volau. That's basically what you always do. The last number, always use the suffix form, so here you use the au. And for the numbers before, you use the prefix form, so p'e for the 3 in 31 octal, plus the number you're describing, so 3 times 8, so you're describing the 8, so we need p'e vol. Another example, 61 decimal becomes 75 in octal, so that would be 7 times 8, so we need the prefix for 7, ki, plus the 8, vol, so ki vol, plus the mr from the suffix row, so we get ki vo mr. 7 times 8 plus 5. Sometimes we want to have higher numbers. There we have again the sam, the vosam, and the sasam. One example, 234 in decimal becomes 352 in octal. And here we now do exactly the same, except for that we also need the sum. So 352, that means we have 3 times 64. So we use the prefix form for 3, p'e, plus the sum, so p'e sam. Then 5 times 8, so mrvo. And then mun from the suffix form, because for the last number we always need the suffix form. Why is there only one m and why is there no l? The m and the l disappear if anything follows that is not a 1. So in the first number, p'e volau, the l stays, but in all other cases we don't need the m or the l, they just disappear. This again is part of video 20 about numbers. In that video I also cover how to form ordinal numbers, so first, second and so on, and how to make fractions, so 1/4, 2/5 and so on, because both is possible in NATVI. And there you also can learn in more detail how to use these numbers in a sentence. They're used exactly like adjectives. But yeah, that was it for the grammar summary. I hope that was helpful to give you kind of an overview. If you are missing something, anything that you wish would be covered in the video but I haven't covered yet, just contact me, either in the comments or in Discord. And if you have any other questions, same, you can always write me. Hi, Yellow Weimar Frappo.